Okay, I'm at San Quentin prison. It's the 13th of July, 1998. Thompson, having been convicted of murder and rape in 1981 of Ginger Fleischman, is scheduled to be executed in approximately 4 hours at 12:01 a.m. We're looking at the main east gate of San Quentin prison, and there is a protest vigil beginning to gather at the east gate at San Quentin prison in protest of the execution of Thomas Thompson, convicted in San Diego in 1981.
What this is about is just for people to know that there are a group of us, a big group and growing group of people that oppose the death penalty and would not like the state to kill in our name. So far, the people I've come in contact with are, in general, completely opposed to the death penalty. But this is this is one of the reasons we're so against it is because we have a system where an innocent man can be put to death. So this is a big example of why we're opposed.
I think that whether there's an execution of Thompson tonight won't make a bit of difference. It's called judicial obstruction of justice. 4 executions since 1963. That's a farce. It's an outrage. We don't have capital punishment in California. Not when you have 4 executions in 1960. This is 1998. From 1963. I'm telling you what the situation historically has been. So you can't really talk about the implementation of capital punishment in California. It's a farce. It is tokenism, sheer tokenism. So if he's executed tonight, it will still be tokenism when we have hundreds on death row. What is it? We have approximately 400 and some on California death row and 5,000 nationally. Come on, give me a break.
I believe Tommy's innocent. I read the brief that was written by 7 prosecuting attorneys and 2 judges that really raised the question of innocence. And that was given to the Supreme Court last year, and they didn't even bother to look at it. And they haven't bothered to look at it this year either. Well, essentially that you're never going to find anybody rich on death row.
My daughter, Catherine, is my youngest of 3 children. She was murdered in 1980. For 8 years, I suffered anger, rage, need for revenge. I was promised by the district attorney that when the man who killed her had been caught, put on the death row, and when he was finally executed, that's when I would be healed and I'd be all right again. 4 years later, after a soul search and a great seeking through all the great religious teachers that have ever lived, I had an epiphany. And I was given a message that I must write to him and I must tell him that he is forgiven. And he's on death row here in San Quentin. I wrote the letter, and it was with the support of all of my friends that I was able to mail it. It was a very scary thing to do. The instant I dropped that letter in the mailbox, the anger, the rage, the need for revenge, all the ugliness I'd been carrying around all those years, it dissipated. It was gone. I don't come here tonight in anger. I don't come in rage. I come here to extend love. And the main people that I want to extend love to is, number 1, Tommy Thompson, who is my friend, who I love dearly. And I do it to honor my daughter.
The one thing in common that everybody on death row in this state and every state is that they don't have the best counsel possible. Some of them have adequate counsel, mediocre counsel, and some of them have abominably bad counsel. I believe that this execution is done on my behalf. It's done to protect me, and I know that it does not protect me. I know that it doesn't make the world a better place. It promotes violence. It doesn't defeat violence, and so I want to keep doing this.
It's an atmosphere of violence. Violence is
exactly.
So much confusion and no resolution, with families of no restitution, in the name of someone's constitution, of political prostitution, to watch a brave friend die and draw to a conclusion all those years of waiting, all that time spent hoping for a miracle, and in the end knowing that great God had forgiven him for his sins and the sins of so many others who use him to shield their own heinous deeds? Do you think God will forgive you on your judgment day? What will you say to the Maker to convince him it was your duty to kill this man who accepts his punishment right there where he lies? Right there where you strapped him down and clumsily shoved a needle into his awaiting arm to satisfy the bloodlust of a confused society?
In the 50 years since the adoption of that text, the world has gradually been ridding itself of judicial executions, with over 100 countries, that's more than half the countries of the world, becoming abolitionist in practice. There's growing international concern about the U.S.'s arbitrary and discriminatory use of the death penalty. This was highlighted in a report from the International Commission of Jurists and was further illustrated by the visit to the USA in 1997 of the United Nations Special Rapporteur on extrajudicial, summary, or arbitrary executions.
This is not a fun, we may not like what I said, but there is racism in America, period. Historic. It is the truth.
Very pleased to be here just long enough to look into your faces, because I see concern, I see humanity, and just seeing that makes it worth the walk. But the reason that I walk is to be out in the community. I believe that humanity is better than this. Not better than you, but better than what we're doing here tonight.
Who here is gay or lesbian, bi, trans, anybody? All right. We're becoming more visible and numerous here all the time. A few months ago, Brian Wilms was killed in a gay bash incident outside of the loading dock in San Francisco. And District Attorney Hallinan, who I understand is opposed to the death penalty, said that he was surprised that anti-gay hate crimes, murders, were not considered a special circumstance for the death penalty. And that raised the issue for a minute with the press about, maybe we should be more equal in this way.
I'd like to call on the names of the 8 women on death row here in California. Rosie Alfaro, Celeste Carrington, Caroline Young, Catherine Thompson, Maureen McDermott, Mary Ellen Samuels, Cynthia Kaufman, Carrie Dalton. And I want to say that these women should not be forgotten along with this effort tonight. We support both the men and the women and families who are fighting this heinous act that is being done supposedly in the name of justice.
Many of us are angry today because we think that Thomas Thompson may be innocent. Some other people are angry because it took so long to decide his punishment. As a Jew, I learned that God waits every day for a sinner to repent until his last day. So we should learn a little bit of that patience. We shouldn't be so hasty to take away a man's life. Do we have the right to do that? We don't know if that person's going to learn to love God and to love other human beings someday.
We have to go out and say, look, you're turning your anger in the wrong direction. You want to turn your anger against the people who are causing your suffering. You want to turn it against the system that is putting children in danger, taking away people's jobs, propagating racism, and making this not a particularly good place to live. So we have to go out here, from here today, convince more people to be against the death penalty and also against the system that not only makes it possible, but makes it necessary, because they can't do anything to justify their rotten system except for scapegoating innocent people like Tommy Thompson.
What we must do, we in this loving, this benevolent community must do, is link hands and walk with the wind. We must make sure that by walking with the wind, we reestablish the house that is this society.
The death penalty reflects in every fundamental way. That it is a system that is racist, that it is a system that denies equality, that denies dignity to people, almost entirely on wealth, whether or not they'll live or die. So when we take life tonight, they also have to remind us of the failure of the criminal justice system.
What I learned is that people don't commit horrible crimes because they're evil.